Earlier this month, another email leak took place. Correspondence of Open Society Foundation belonging to billionaire George Soros was hacked by a group, DC Leaks. However, despite revelations providing insight into how groups run by Soros intervened into political life of other countries, this did not make nationwide news in the mainstream media, leaving a lot of questions whether media silence has something to do with the investors' position within the establishment. Alexei Yaroshovsky with the details tonight.
These days, when you hear two words, emails and leaks, you'd most likely immediately think of Hillary Clinton and her email gate. But the Democratic presidential candidate is not the only one whose correspondence got exposed. You would not know from mainstream news reports, however, that emails belonging to billionaire investor George Soros' Open Society Foundation were also hacked recently. Just as you would not know that those emails clearly suggest Soros has given more than $13 million to Hillary Clinton's campaign, effectively making him her largest single donor. You might think this is not exactly breaking news. Soros' massive funding of far-left groups in the United States and the rest of the world has been well documented for decades. No corner of the globe is unaffected, no policy area untouched. You would also think that groups and people Soros has been supporting are unrelated. What does climate change have to do with illegal immigration, for instance? But Soros-backed projects seem to share common attributes. Most of them are aimed at altering political processes in countries across the world, and all in the name of democracy and human rights. The most recent example revealed by the new leaks is the billionaires meddling with immigration policies in Europe. The documents show his groups have interfered in European elections to get politicians elected who support open border policies for immigrants from the Arab world. Even journalists who report sympathetically on immigrants. For instance, over $130,000 went to a project by a group called EU Observer. Its description says this project uses professional news reporting to foster debate on how open society values are under stress in the run-up to the European elections. EU Observer recruited experienced local journalists to visit campaign events, conduct interviews, and solicit high-level op-eds in 16 countries. And it's the refugee issue which has left Europe polarized we're talking about. Some say they should be helped unequivocally. Others call for tougher screening and lesser numbers allowed in. The situation, which has been branded by many media in Europe as the refugee crisis. But difficult situations is exactly when Soros thrives.
We are trying to make the world a better place, but that's not necessarily what we accomplish.
There are also clear indications that Soros has exclusive access to top US policymakers. When Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State in 2011, she received an email from George Soros, one of those that had been leaked, with his recommendations on how a political crisis in Albania should be addressed. A week later, the person he picked as a mediator from the EU was in Albania, meeting with politicians there. It is unclear as to how Soros's influence may impact domestic and foreign policies of the United States should Hillary Clinton become president. However, his status with the current establishment makes it slightly more clear as to why leaks of his dealings received almost zero media coverage. Alexei Yaroshovsky, RT, for News with Ed Schultz from Washington, D.C.